Okay, here we go. Okay, so now let's talk about editing fabric and patterns so that they can be seamless, right? So I'm going to select all three of these. These are the three that you're going to use for your homework. So I'm in Bridge. You don't necessarily have to use Bridge to look at them, but I'm using Bridge. I'm going to double click. I'm going to open all three of these up. So here they are. Here they are. Okay. And first, before we try to make a good seamless pattern, I just want to show you how it works, just in its simplicity. Now it's probably going to fail, but that's okay. You'll see it, it'll work, but then you'll say, like, oh, it's not perfect. So just let me show you, how do you make a pattern? Now this already looks like a pattern. I hope it doesn't work. It better not. I didn't check this one to see if it works. It better not work. Anyways, here's how you would do it. First, you're going to take your, you want to have a part of this pattern to be your seamless pattern. So like, I just need one motif. A motif is this repeating design, right? So I just want to sample this part. Well, one of these, I can pick one of them, right? I'm going to pick this one. And to sample it, I'm going to use my rectangular marquee. My rectangular marquee is it's a selection that's a box, right? So watch, here I go. I'm going to go here. Now, you're probably wondering, how come I'm doing it this way? I'll show you. And there's more precise ways to do this, right? But what I want is, I definitely want this, it looks like an orange, like a sliced orange. So I want this orange, but then I also want part of these diamonds, right? And when you make a seamless pattern, where you want to be aware of your sample, right? So where this piece enters, this piece needs to end. And that's why I didn't do it perfectly, but I want to get in the center of all four of these diamonds. So where this one enters, this one exits. Where this one enters, that one exits. I also want to line up this edge to this edge. Let's see how well I did it. Anyways, I made a marquee, and this is the area that's selected. Now, I just need to define that as a pattern. So I define it as a pattern, and I'll show you how. It's easy. Watch. It's fun. It won't be perfect, but it'll be fun because you can do it rapidly. The only problem is it won't be perfect. So here's how you make a pattern. You go Edit, and it's just right here, Define Pattern. I mean, it's as easy as that. It's not going to be perfect, but watch. So I go Define Pattern. It's up here. I'm just going to move it down. Here it is. I could name it. I'm just going to name it test 02. So test, I hit OK. So there, I defined a pattern. It's as easy as that. In fact, watch, I'm going to do another one. Here, I'll do this. Just for fun, for kicks. Don't do this for your homework. So let's see, I just want this diamond. There we go. Okay, I'm going to define that as a pattern. So watch, I'm going to go Edit. This is for fun, just showing you, define pattern. So there it is, diamond. Okay, let's see how well that worked. Maybe it didn't work very well. So I did it. So I defined patterns. So now you're thinking, okay, well, now what do you do with that? What do you do with that? How do you fill it? Well, I can't fill this page. I almost need to make a new page to fill and to test. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to make a new page, just an 8.5 by 11. So watch, I'm going to go File, New. Just going to make a new print page, and you could do this too to like test it. You don't have to do it now, but just a letter size page. Just hit Create. So here's my blank page. It's just a blank page to test. So now, how do I use that pattern that I defined? Well, one way, the easiest way, is that fill layer. Remember down here? So I click on it's like my adjustment layer button. This probably isn't called the adjustment layer button. It's probably called like the layer button, but I call it the adjustment layer button because all my adjustment layers are here. Anyways, these are our fill layers, right? Pattern. So I click on pattern. Oh, and there it is. So now when I do this, you'll see at the bottom, it's hard to see because it's small, but you can see, oh, here are all the patterns that I've saved. So here's my diamond. That diamond looks pretty good. So I'm gonna hit OK. We'll scrutinize it. Let's see. And then I'm gonna do another fill layer. So let's see, I'm gonna go black and white circle, pattern layer, and this time I'm gonna pick the circle one, the orange I just did. So there it is. I can see some flaws already. So I'm gonna hit OK. Okay, so that's it. Before I zoom in and look at my flaws, that's normally how you use it. But what happens if you wanted to fill a different way? Like, what could I do? Let me show you. If you make a selection, like I could do this. I could just make a box with my marquee. Oh, it's hard to see. Anyways, I made a selection box. Then I could fill a pattern in there. Normally, we don't normally do it this way, but just let me show you. You can go edit fill, use the fill layer. It's easier. But anyways, normally when you fill with a foreground color. So like normally you fill like whatever, red, and then you click OK. But under the fill box, you can pick pattern. There's all kinds of different things you can fill with. Background color, that would be this. Content aware, that's something fancy for like maybe you copy and pasted something. Anyways, history, complicated. I've never bothered to fill like that. But anyways, here it is, pattern. I can fill with a pattern. And then I can pick my pattern. So I don't know, I'm just going to do this one. I hit OK. So that's how you can fill a part of your project. Anyways, I'm going to undo that. Okay. So like for instance, let's say you wanted to draw a dress or you made a selection of a dress. Here's my beautiful dress. You're not going to do this, but I have a selection of a dress. I'm going to go edit, fill. I pick my pattern. There it is. Control D to deselect. Whatever, that's kind of for the future. But anyways, I just want to show you different ways you can use your patterns. But I'll just keep that, I'll hide it. Okay, I'm going to move it down. We don't need that thing. For now, I used a fill layer. So let's zoom in and let's see how well, oop, I got to let Brianne back in. Okay. Let's zoom in and see how not so perfect this is. And when I zoom in, you can see, oh yeah, look at that diamond. That diamond's not working very well, right? So you can see that I wasn't careful enough. It's not seamless. It has that weird screw up. It's a seam basically, and it's a bad one because I just kind of did it for fun. Okay, well let's check out my diamond. My diamond might be more successful. Okay, the diamond looks better, but if you zoom in, oh shoot, let me get rid of no pixel grid. So when I zoom in here, it's very close. But here you can see, oh yeah, I can kind of see a line there. It's very close. It actually looks pretty good. Like, you can kind of see a line here. So here you can see it, I don't know. Here's the thing. When you're working professionally and they're like, just throw a pattern up on that dress, like just put it up there real quick. And you might be able to do something like this rapidly, and it might be so small, well, kind of like on my dress, watch. Like, and you might be so zoomed out that it may be fine. That's kind of like, but when you're working professionally, you'll have to make these judgment calls. Like, is this just for a demonstration, like just an idea? Then it doesn't really matter. Is this like you're actually going to make fabric out of it? Oh, no, then you have to make it perfect. But like, if it's just for a quick idea, it doesn't have to be perfect, unless you can see these ugly, you know, whatever seams. But that looks pretty good if it's going to be small. Remember, if that was going to be for a real fabric, no, I'd have to go in. If this was going to be over a real fabric, I would like use Illustrator, and I would like, you know, I'd probably draw this. I would probably draw this in Photoshop with a back, you know, but you get the idea. Okay, so I need to fix it. So anyways, I did my patterns, but they weren't perfect. Okay, so now the question is, can we get out of there? How do I make it perfect? How do I make a perfect, seamless sample? Okay, well, there's a couple different ways. There's actually more than one way to do it. But probably the best way is to use guides. And the problem that we have is This is like taken from a dress or like a tablecloth, or I mean, it's kind of funny. It's like you can if I when I zoom in on it, you can see that it's imperfect. Like like on these diamonds, the green is bleeding outside of the diamond, and even on this kind of like the white is bleeding out of it. So it's imperfect. But someone might argue that gives it a lot of charm, and it kind of does. Sometimes perfection isn't best. But anyways, I guess my point is, it's difficult because it's not like you could draw this, you could construct this in Photoshop or Illustrator, and you could make it perfect. It could be perfect. This is like whatever, a photo of something that somebody found. Okay, so how do we do it? I think that's why it's trickier. The first thing you want to do is you want to use guides. So how do you use guides? You could use a grid too. I'll show you the grid. I'll show you the grid. But the guides are the best. So how do you get guides? Well, using your move tool. So you can use the move tool works the best. So here's my move tool. You want to go to your ruler, and you have to position your move tool in the ruler. So see, I'm like halfway in that ruler, right? And then you hold your left mouse button down and you drag, and you get this guide. It's a ruler guide, right? I could pull another one down. So I go right in here. I'm going to pull it down. I don't know, maybe I'm going to go here. Okay. Then if I want guides vertical, so it's a horizontal ruler guide, right? If I want a vertical one, I go to the vertical ruler. So here's my vertical ruler, and I drag this, and I position it here. And basically, I'm going to make a box around my part of the pattern that I want to sample. Now, the nice thing about these guides is that I can move them around, and I can like look at them real carefully to try to make it perfect, right? Now, if you don't have rulers, you can't make your guides. So if for some reason you don't have your rulers, I'll just show you how to find them. You go view. Oh, here they are, rulers. So like here, I don't have my rulers. Like let's say you're looking at your Photoshop and you're like, I don't see no rulers that you're talking about, Dave. Where do I find my rulers? It's under view, and it'll be rulers. And here they are. And you move your arrow in the ruler, not on the edge, in the ruler, and then you drag down to get a ruler guide. Guide, ruler guide. They used to be, a long time ago, they were ruler guides. Now they're just called guides. Here they are. Now, what am I going to do with these guides? Well, I'm going to zoom in here. And I want to use these. I want to find the centers of these diamonds, right? Now, the problem is those diamonds may not be perfect. Remember, this is a photograph of a tablecloth or a curtain or something, right? Or from a book. Maybe it's from a book. It's not perfect. But I want to try to find the sweet spot. I want to kind of move these things around. I want it to be as perfect as possible. So let's see. So I can just use my move tool. I'm going to move these things around. So let's see. Well, first off, this is too much. So I want to move this down. Here, let me see if I can zoom in a little closer. I'm going to zoom in closer. Let's see here. Oh my gosh, I got to give that. I turned off the pixel grid. Okay. The pixel grid shows you, it's a grid for all the pixels. And normally it's nice. But because I'm working at such a zoomed in amount, that pixel grid, it kind of makes everything look gray. So I just turn it off. I can see the pixels, so I don't necessarily need it. Okay, anyways, so I'm going to move these down. So I'm going to adjust this down. It looks like I need to move this one down a little bit. I want to move this one. So right now I'm just focusing on the circle. Okay, so let's see here. Like this one's off. So I want to make a perfect circle. Okay, so I'm checking here, here, here. That looks pretty good. Great. Now I want to check the diamonds, right? The diamonds need to be good as well. Well, okay. So this diamond looks good. That looks centered on that. This looks centered on this, but look at this one. This diamond does not match. This kind of matches, that doesn't. This one looks good. Match, match, match. Looks pretty good. This one doesn't match. So what am I going to do? Well, that's where the difficulty comes in. We have to adjust these things. So like you have to try to get it as perfect as you can. So let's see. I'm gonna move this one over a hair. And this one looks good. I'm gonna leave that. Let's see, that looks better. Let's see, oh my gosh. So this looks better, but this one, so I'm gonna move this one up a little bit. Maybe, so I'm gonna, here, I'll show you. It's probably hard to see on that screen, but actually that looks pretty good. So here you can see, that looks pretty good. Let me scroll over here. See, that one's not so good, but I think that's as good as I'm gonna get. Okay, so that's step one. Okay, that's step one. Let's go to the other one. So let's see, I've got this one. So now this one, we want to do the same thing. I want to use those guides. So I'll just show you. So move tool, I drag. So I want to go here. Now your first impression would be this. Oh, I want to do this. And then from the vertical ruler, I drag. Basically, you want 4 rulers, right? So I can just drag them out and then adjust it. And you're like, I want this thing. But actually you don't for this. You want, because if I did this, it would only copy this. It wouldn't have it like offset, right? So believe it or not, I actually, for this one, I actually want to get the centers of these. So I'm going to move this. Oh gosh, see how terrible that doesn't match? Okay, this one, and then this one. So you actually want, I'm just going to eyeball it for now. Okay. So you actually want this sample. You want, this is, and it's tricky. So what would happen is, if I did a sample of this, I would look at it and like, oh, that's not what I wanted. And you'd have to bring out your sample to include more of these repeating parts, right? So anyways, this is what I want. But notice how this stuff doesn't line up at all. Like this one, it just doesn't line up. So let's see, what do I want to do? Okay, so here's what you want to do. Again, you want to think this doesn't line up perfectly. So you want to find the best of whatever the situation is. So probably the most challenging part is these arrows. See how there's like a little arrow here? So these don't match up very well at all. So maybe I'm just going to try to match these things first. So let me see if I can zoom in. It's kind of bigger. And you can, okay, so this one looks good. So this one matches, but this one doesn't. Look at that. So maybe I'll move this over a little bit. Oh, it still looks terrible. So you're going to have to make decisions on what you want to deal with. So like if I match this one, that one's not going to match. I don't know if it's a good idea to match the bottom ones and leave the top ones to suffer. Maybe it's better, I'll leave it up to you. I'll try. I'm gonna keep, we'll see how well it works. I'm gonna match these bottom ones as best I can. And then the top is gonna be terrible, but then I have to fix it anyway. So maybe I have less to focus on. See, look at that though. I don't want that to be in there. Okay, I'm moving this over a little bit. Whatever. Okay, and then maybe I want to match this a little better. So, boy, I'm going to move this up. You know, I want to consider like, where does this line cross? Like it's kind of crossing over this little black mark, but it's kind of missing this one. But I don't want to include this. See how it's not easy? I'm going to move this down a little bit. I'm trying to find the best spot. But that's what you want to do. That's the challenge. You want to consider everything. It's kind of like, if I move this one down, then I'm going to have part of this leaf, and that could be a problem. Or maybe if I move it up, it'll hide it, but then it'll run into this black mark. So you want to look at everything. You want to look at what's the best possible situation I can get. You can't get it perfect, because these are, like I said, these are just photographs of a couch or of a dress or a tablecloth, and you're just trying to make the best that you can get. Normally, you would just, to make it, like I said, I can't stress it enough, to normally make a perfect pattern, you would like actually just paint it perfect to begin with in Photoshop or Illustrator. That's the best way. We're dealing with patterns that we just want to use as a sample, just to get inspiration. That's what we're dealing with. And we got to learn these skills. Like, we're learning skills on how to edit them and make them the best. But in a perfect world, you would just make this in Illustrator or Photoshop. Because I don't want you to think, oh my gosh, do I have to do this every time? No, no, no. You would draw them normally. I don't know. These look pretty good. These don't look so great. Let's see. These don't look good, but maybe I want to match this, the center of this a little better. So let's see. Okay, so I'm looking at the black line. Like those look good. Ooh. I'm going to move this up a little more. Let's see. I don't know. I'm doubtful. Okay, let's leave it at that. Boy, see, these don't match up very well at all. I know this is going to be good. Oh, look at this. See, I don't want to get that. Okay. Okay, let's try that. I know this part will look good, but I'll have to fix this later. Okay, check. That's good. Finally, this blue one, I'm not going to do the blue one perfectly. The blue one's tricky. There has to be a tricky one because they can't all be easy. And you're like, oh my gosh, those are easy? Yeah, it gets harder. These are easier ones. These are doable. The problem with this one is it has, not only does it have, I mean, it looks nice. I like the way it looks. There's a lot of nice blues in here. But the problem is there's some light areas and there's some darker, like this is darker area, this is lighter. And that will kind of give it a tiled effect. It's hard to avoid. Well, let's try. First step is we want to get those guides in. So I'm going to go guide, guide, from the top ruler, guide. So this will help you. These are great. I mean, I could just go like, I could try to do this. This is lazy though. I could try to match it up, trying to do it like this, but it's not, it's better to use the guides first. Once we have the guides, then we'll use our, you know, our rectangular marquee to match it. So we use the guides to line it up first. Well, I don't want to show you the grid on this one, but could I have used a grid? Yeah, there is a grid option. If you think it will help you, it may not though. Let's see, show. If you want, show grid. It's hard to see. Here, I mean, let's go to the orange. Where's my orange? Here? Nope, here. Let's see if the grid will, the problem is it's such a small file, the grid may not work. But if the grid helps you, here's the grid. I don't think it's gonna help, but it might. It might. And if you had the problem is, like I said, this is a small image and my grid is pretty small. I think I have 1/8 increments of an inch. So that's a pretty small grid. I could go to 1/16. Anyways, the grid is useful when you're drawing your own pattern. But whatever, I just want to show it to you. It doesn't appear that this is going to help us today. So I'm going to hide the grid. So to show and hide the grid, it's just under view. It's under the show option, grid. Forget the grid. Okay, whatever, I tried. Okay, blue squares. Okay, back to this. So now I want to find a sample area. Now don't be, technically you don't do this, but technically you could focus on a very small portion. Like I'm going to go in and this will be easier. I'm just going to focus in on, I don't know, like this. But that would be, that doesn't give you a very big sample. You might be able to find a repeating pattern out of something like this, but you don't want it to be too small. So don't be lazy. And you probably, I mean, you might get most of this. You could make it really big too. Like you could go out here and then here, but I don't know. I'm going to go kind of in the middle. So I'm going to try something like this. Now the problem is I need to find, this is the difficulty of the blue one. So you need to find where this enters, this exits. Okay, so this works actually. Wow, I got it. Okay, you can see, so this square is entering, and on the other side, it's exiting. So that looks pretty good. Same here. Only a little bit of this one is entering, and so a lot of it is leaving. Okay, so this looks good. Did I match it? That matches this. Okay, wow, that was lucky. But normally you have to like move these around, and then you want to look on both sides. You want to look over here and here. Do they enter and exit? Good. Now let's look at the top. This is exiting, but nothing is entering here. So I need to move this one up to match that. Let's see if I can match it. Looks like I got it. Yeah, this looks good. Yes, this looks good. So so I got 3 of them. I got 4. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, And up here, I've got 1, 2, 3. So that's the tricky part about this blue square one. You have to find a repeat. You have to find it. Well, I found it. And then you want to match it. Like, for instance, if this bottom edge was too high, it wouldn't make a full square on this. It would be like a thin rectangle, and it would look weird because these are all squares. So you kind of want to find the center. So that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. I'm going to leave it for now because I want to focus on the other things. Okay, so let's go back to the circles. Oh my gosh. Not you, you. So that was step one. Step one was like using the guides from the ruler. You just drag from the ruler, you set up these guides, and you try to match, you try to move them around, you move them with the move tool. You want to find the sweet spot. You want to find the best you can do. Remember, it's very difficult to get perfection because, like I said, these are taken from photographs. Okay, but it looks like I found the best possible solution. Great. Now I'm going to use these guides, and I'm going to use my rectangular marquee to make a box inside this. Now let's see if I have my snap on. I'm going to turn my snap off. So normally when you just use your rectangular marquee, if you're careful, you could probably try to go right to the corner. I was off a pixel. And then you try to match it perfectly. Let's see. Okay, you want to match it. But I was off a pixel, so let's see, I'm going to zoom in here. You'd be like, oh, Dave, you screwed up. I'm off a pixel. And so a pixel can make a difference when you're trying to do this stuff. So usually what you can do is you can use Snap. Snap will line up your selections and other layers to something else. And I could program it to be like snap to guides. I want to snap to guides. So let me show you. Okay. Here's how you do it. So you go View, here's Snap. So you want to pick Snap. Now currently there's no check mark for Snap. That means there's no snap happening. Snap is like a magnetic. It magnetizes it. It kind of makes it basically stick to that corner. Well, it's not check marked. Okay. Well, I'm going to go Snap to Guides. That's what I want. Snap to Guides. But before you try it, make sure that it's snapped to what you wanted it to snap to. So watch, I'll show you. View, Snap. So now when I did Snap to Guides, it automatically checkmarked Snap. Guides is good. If I had Snap to Layers, I'd probably click on that to uncheck it. I only want to do Snap to Guides. Or if it did Snap to Document Bounds, I would want to click on that to undo it. I only want Snap to Guides. So Snap to Guides is selected, and Snap. Snap has to be activated for this to work. Great. Okay, let's see if it works though. Because I was doing this yesterday and there was some weird thing and it wasn't working. It was freaking me out. But normally it works. If for some reason it doesn't work, just zoom in super close and get right on that corner. Let's see if it worked for me. Okay, I'm going to go right here. I'm going to on purpose not be perfect. Ooh, see, that didn't work. Dude, here it's snapping. So it snaps here. I can feel it, but it didn't snap at the beginning. And this was the problem I was having. Oh, I forgot to tell you something. Shoot. Okay, so I have to be more careful. I forgot a step. Before we do this. What we want to do is we want to make sure, I can't believe I forgot this. So before we do this, we need to make sure that it's the measurements. Oh gosh, no, this is first. This is first. Oh my gosh. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna zoom in so that I can get this better. Okay, so it's partially snapping. So it won't snap there. So I'll show you a workaround. I can't believe I have to teach. So this is snapping. Okay. So I have an extra pixel here. So you're like, oh my gosh, it didn't snap perfectly. So what do? You can hold, using my rectangular marquee, I can cut away part of my selection. So if I hold the Alt key, and make another selection, holding the Alt key will cut away from the other selection that I previously had. So I'm gonna just go right up to that. And of course this snaps, whatever. So it snaps to that line and it cut it away on that guideline. I don't know what to tell you. So that's pretty good. It looks like I have a little extra here too. So I'm gonna hold Alt. Oh, it will not. Okay, well, okay. So that's it. So now what I wanna do is I wanna copy this sample. So I'm gonna copy it. So I'm gonna copy, Control C to copy. If you're on a Mac, it'll be Command C. Now I wanna paste this into its own project, its own document. So I copied it. Now I wanna make a new document. And here's what you have to do. So you're gonna press Control N to make a new document. I'll do this more than once so you'll see it. Control N. Now, when you make a new document, you have an option for Clipboard. Clipboard remembers the exact size of what you just copied. So if I use Clipboard, that's what I want, Clipboard, I'm gonna hit Create. This is gonna be the exact size of what I just copied. Now I wanna paste. Control V to paste. There it is. And you're like, oh my gosh, Dave, really? Oh my gosh, I gotta let in Emily. Okay, Emily, she's gonna join us. So that's how you can do it. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna save this as its own file and I'm gonna edit this thing and then define it. Complicated, so I'll show you again. So now I'm gonna go to my blue squares. Okay, here we go. Let me see if I have my snap on, even though my snap wasn't working very well. Okay. So I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. So I'll show you again. So this is step 2. So I use my rectangular marquee. If for some reason you don't see the rectangular marquee, like if it's on a circle, there's a rectangular elliptical marquee, right? Anyways, just hold your left mouse button down until you can get the rectangle, right? Okay, then I have snap on. Let's see if it works. That worked. Let's see. Okay, that worked. Okay. So I made my selection around my guides and I'm gonna copy, Control C to copy, Control C to copy. Now I wanna make a new document. So that's Control N. Then I wanna pick Clipboard. So that's, by default it's selected because it's like, hey, don't you wanna use a clipboard? I do, Photoshop, I do, thank you. So I hit Create, here it is. And then I wanna paste in there. Control V to paste. There it is. So that one's going to be ready to edit. Okay. Finally, let's go to this one. Okay, I got to zoom out a little bit. Rectangular marquee. Let's see if my snap works. See, it's weird how the snap. Okay, so the snap's working here, but it didn't work on my circles. I don't know what to tell you. Whatever. There it is. Snap worked. Now I want to copy, so I want to copy this. Control C. You could do it this way, but I'm showing you the shortcuts. Control C. You could go to like, what? Edit, copy. So here it is. I could copy this way. Control, and it tells you the shortcut, Control C, right? And then later I could do new. Here's new. File new to make a new document. Control N, right? And then to paste, I could go paste, Control V, right? So you could use the menus, but it's just quicker to use your keyboard, right? Anyways, I copied. I'm going to copy again because I don't remember. Control C to copy. Now I want to make a new document. Control N. I want to use Clipboard. That's by default. I hit Create. Here it is.
What if you don't have Clipboard on your thing?
Then that probably means you didn't copy something correctly. So you might have copied on the wrong layer. If you had more than one layer, I'll look at it later. But like, make sure you're on the right. Make sure you're on a layer to copy, and then Control C to copy. That's probably the reason that you didn't make a copy. And if not, show me later, because sometimes the weird things can happen. Anyways, I'm going to paste, Control V. There it is. And I'm good to go. Now, what you're supposed to do for to make it easier on you guys for your homework, what you want to do is you want to save these as separate files. That way you can kind of work on them independently. And then when you're all done, you'll put them into your final host project where we did the background. So like I want to save this. So I would just save it as, even though it's incomplete, I'm going to save it. So let's see, I'm going to save this as, what is this? I'm just going to say, pattern, you can name it pattern fix. I'm going to name it pattern fix. You can name it whatever you want, but I'm going to name it as pattern fix because this is the pattern that I'm going to fix. I'm going to try to fix it. So pattern fix number 1, I'm going to save it as a Photoshop file. So I'm going to hit save. So I'm going to save it in there. Okay. And then this one, I'm going to save as pattern fix 2, or you can save it as pattern. You can save it as blue pattern, you know, fix, whatever, blue squares, I don't care, but I'm going to name it pattern fix 02. I'm going to name it a BSQ for blue square pattern. That way it'll help me remember it. You name it whatever you want. So I saved it. Okay, and then this one, save as. So you can save it to you can save it to your computer, or you can save it to a flash drive. This is a circle pattern fix 03, whatever. Just save it. So I save these separately, so that way I can work on them independently, right? Okay, so that's what you want to do. You want to save these separately. These are like separate now. They're not the originals. The original was here. So I don't really even need this anymore. I'm gonna close, I'm not gonna close it yet, but you could close those. You don't need those anymore. This is what I'm gonna work on. Okay, now what we need to do, this is where we need to check the image size. So like I gotta check, so I'm gonna go image size. Now, lucky for you guys, because I'm looking out for you, these resolutions should be 300. So I didn't want you to have to worry about that. But originally these resolutions were weird, and you know how to fix it, but I fixed it for you. Now we need to adjust the height and the width. We want them to be equal number of pixels. They are even number of pixels. So watch, right now it's inches. So this is in inches, which is normally what we work in. Normally we work in inches, but we want this to be in pixels. And we want to look at the pixel numbers. The height and the width, they both have to be even numbers. You can't have an odd number. There's other ways to do this, but this is a good way, and this is what our documentation kind of helps show you. So that's what we're just going to go with this. So I have 161 and 162. Can't have this odd number. So I'm going to make this 160. Now, when I do this, though, if I change this to 160, it will change the 162. Let me show you. So I'm going to screw up on purpose. So I'm screwing up on purpose. So I changed that to 160, but then I made that 161. So I'm going to undo. So I need to change the width independently of the height. How do I do that? You need to unlink it. So there's a link here. You need to unlink it. So I'm going to unlink it. The little bracket is gone. Now if I change the width, the height will stay the same. Make it a lower number. Don't add to it. Complicated, huh? Okay, so it's going to be 160. 160. So what it did is it's going to trim. Actually, it kind of squished it in a little bit, but this is good. So I'm going to hit OK. It squished it a little. That's what our documentation tells us to do. You know what? There's another way to do this. I'm going to undo it, but that's okay. You can do it that way. There's another way to trim it a little bit. I'm going to do it this way. Image, canvas size. Under canvas size, I can also go inches. I'm sorry, not inches, pixels. Pixels. And here it's actually going to trim the edge, and that may or may not be good for you because it's actually gonna cut off, like it's gonna cut off an edge 1 pixel, and that could be bad. I want to trim off this top part. But anyways, like that looks like it's too much right there. Whatever. So I'm going to make this should happen independently. So there it is. So I can just do it this way and hit OK. I'm curious though if relative was, oh, no. Oh, that was kind of cool. Okay, whatever. Anyways, that's it. So I'm gonna hit OK. So it's gonna trim it. So it trimmed off an edge there. That's another way to do it. Okay, so I did it. Let's go to the other ones. I just want to show you this. This is like, I forget what step number we're on. This guy. Okay, so again, before we start doing weird stuff to it, we got to check the pixels dimensions. I go image size. Pixels are selected. The bracket is already unchecked, and I want to check. I don't want, oh my gosh, they're both odd numbers. So I want this one. Okay, I'm going to check mark them. So I want this one to be 516. Oh, no. 516. Oh, 516 by 510. Okay, so I don't have to uncheck it to adjust one at a time. They're both, okay, so they're both even now. I was lucky. How did I get lucky? When I copied it, I just happened to copy it at, both pixels were even. Okay, height and width. That looks good. So 516 by 510. Okay, so I'm good to go. By 300, great. What's left? This one, oh my gosh. This one. Okay, image size. No, not you. Oh my gosh, was I doing the wrong one? Dude, I think I did the wrong one. Dude, I did the wrong one.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
How do you get the grids on Photoshop again?
To see the grid, the guides or the grid? Well, I'll show you. I'll show you both.
The blue lines.
So you drag them from your ruler. So you don't have to use your move tool, but the move tool works the best. And you move into the ruler and you hold your left mouse button down and you drag down.
Okay.
And then to get them up and down, you go to the vertical ruler and you drag. So I got a vertical and a horizontal ruler. And you have to see, a lot of my students, it's kind of funny because I've been teaching this for years. A lot of students will go right to the edge and it won't work. Like they can't do it. And they're like, oops.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go into the ruler. So I'm like halfway in the ruler and then drag.
Okay.
So it's tricky the first time, but then it's easy. Anyways, I'm gonna hide these. I don't want these.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good question. So let's see. I'm gonna hide. Oh my gosh, where are my guides? Clear guides. Okay, go away. Anyways, so I think I had this one. So this one was image size 516 by 510. Great. Okay, then finally this one. I did this one. This one I want to fix. So I'm going to check the image size. Okay, so again, these are odd numbers. They're both odd numbers. So I'm going to try to give this one an odd number. Okay, see, I was lucky. So they were both the same. So again, if one was even and one was odd, you would break the link so there's no bracket, and then you would just change one of them. You want them both to be even numbers, and it'll make sense soon enough, but you have to do this. Okay, so there it is. So it's 280 by 382. Your question is, does the number really matter? No, but decrease the number 1 pixel. Like don't increase, try to decrease it. That's what I do. So the 300 pixels, that looks good, so I'm gonna hit OK. Okay, so that was that step. Now, this is kind of weird. You actually have to get the numbers. So here, just let me show you. And you have to divide them by 2. I could have done it previously, but I'll do it now. So here's my thing. I know, what a pain to have to do this. Here we go. So image size. So what I need to do is I need to divide these numbers in half, right? So let's see. So this is my, I don't know, what is this thing? I'm gonna draw a picture of it. Okay, so the width is 280. So I got to divide that in half. It's 140. And the height is 382. So that would be what? Oh my gosh. That's 191, I think. Oh, but that's an odd number. I think that part's okay though. So it's 191. Okay. So half of this is 140, half of this is 191. And I wrote it down on a piece of paper. So you'll probably have to do something like this. Like, okay, I know this, I'm only gonna do this twice because, oh my gosh, we don't have all day. I'll do this one. So let's see, image size. So this one is this one will be easier to do. So it's, so this is my orange. So it's 160, so that's gonna be 80 by 162 will be 81. Okay, so that's what I want. So I got those numbers. You're like, why? You're like, Dave, why do you need those numbers? Because I'll show you why. Because now I want to offset my pattern. So here's my tile. I want to offset it. When I offset it, it will reveal the flaws. Look at this flaw. Like it's funny. It doesn't even match. It gives it charm. To see how it's not even centered. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm gonna show you. So I'm gonna offset it, and it will enable me to edit it. So watch. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the offset filter, and it cuts this up. It cuts it. It does it fast, so you won't see it happen. But it's gonna cut this in quarters and rearrange them how they will tile later. So let me show you. Watch. Here's how you do it. It's under filter, other, offset. So this is where you're gonna go. So I'll keep it on this when you forget, because you're gonna forget and you're gonna scrub through this video later, and this is where you're gonna go. Filter, other, it's an other filter, offset. So this is it, watch, I'm gonna do it. Now when you do this, this is where you have to input the half pixel dimensions that I wrote down earlier. Remember how I wrote this down? So it was like 160 by 162. So that means this top one's going to be 80, which is half of 160. And half of 162 is 81. And you're like, why do we do this, Dave? Why do we do this? We do it so that I can perfectly get this, like that's the corner. So you can see it divided my circle into quarters. So now I just need to fix this part. If I can fix this part, the center, it'll tile seamlessly. So this is the trick. And we have a handout, it's right here. It's one of your handouts. This will probably be blurry, but it shows you. So you can print this. It's in my assignment, and it kind of shows you, has a lot of words, but hopefully it'll make more sense now that I've shown you, but whatever. Anyways, I hit okay. So aha, there it is. That's the center. And here is where I can see now I got this pretty good, but you can see the flaw before I need to fix these flaws. Okay, so but that looks pretty good. I was pretty lucky on that one. Okay, let's go to this guy. Nope, let's go on this guy. Okay. And you know what I do? I forgot. Normally I copy it just in case. So like I'm gonna copy my layer. I didn't copy my layer on my circle. I forgot to copy it, but whatever, it'll be okay. This one, I forgot, I'm gonna copy the layer. You don't have to copy, but I'm gonna duplicate the layer. So I go Option for layers, duplicate. Do you have to duplicate it? No, but I like to do this, and then I hide my original. So in case I royally screw up, if I royally screw up, I have the original and I can work with it again. Okay, anyways, now it's time to go to that offset filter. So here we go. The hardest part about the offset filter is remembering, right? So it's under filter, other, offset. So that's where you're gonna go. And your paper tells you, right? But whatever, here it is. Now, the numbers for this one were, I wrote these down. Remember how I wrote these down? 140 by 191. Aha, there it is. Ooh, this looks pretty good. Pretty, not bad. Okay, so I'm gonna hit okay. Okay. And then for kicks, I didn't do the other one. So whatever, I'll show you on two. I can't show you everything. Okay, so I did a pretty good job here. And that makes it more difficult for me to show you how to fix these things. But now it's the time where we wanna fix stuff. So what I need to do is I need to, like this looks great right here. This looks great. This is a little off, so I gotta fix that. I got to fix like this. There's a little screw up here. But these corners should match up. These corners will match up. I just need to fix this thing. So that's what we're going to do. But I'm going to stop recording to see if you have any questions yet, because that way it's not one humongous long video. We're going to have like 3 videos. So here I'm going to stop recording.